everyone, I hope you're well. This is Selina. Welcome back to one of my videos. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Selina and I release a crochet tutorial every week. And this week I'm bringing to you this gorgeous summer shawl. I absolutely adore it. It features lovely colours and a filet crochet design. Obviously I will be going through this step by step to show you how to make it, and it's a very lightweight and perfect for summer. It also features a large elegant border, which is a V-stitch border and a shell stitch border. This is a very beginner friendly project, so yes, it's really easy and it's so relaxing to crochet, so I definitely recommend this. The free pattern will be available on my blog selinaveronique.com. As always, I will be leaving the link in the down bar. And this is I loved creating this project so much. It was so much fun. So for this project, I used 2 skeins of Lion Brand's Mandala Baby yarn, and this is this comes in a 590 yard skein. So as I said, you will need 2. This is what I have left of the second skein. It's 100% acrylic and it's so soft and beautiful. I love it. It's considered a light 3 DK weight yarn, and it's shade Narnia. I will be linking everything in the down bar, all the materials, so don't worry, just check the description box. I also used, for the border, I used Bernat Softy Baby. I think it's called Shade Antique White. This is what I have left of the skein of yarn. However, you will have a lot more left. You will need 1 skein and you will probably need only half of that skein. I had already used this for another project, so this is why I only have this left. It's Shade Antique White and it's absolutely perfect for borders. You will also be needing a 5mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors and a tapestry needle, and that's it. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, because that really helps my channel grow, and then I can bring you more free crochet content. And if you would like more crochet content from me, don't forget to check out my Patreon channel. I will be linking that in the down bar, and I'm just going to take this time to thank my patrons. Yes, and I hope you enjoy this tutorial. I will be using US terms with British terms in brackets, and without further ado, I'm just going to jump right in. So to begin this tutorial, you will be making a slip knot, so just go ahead and create a slip knot like so. Pop your hook through and tighten. And now you are going to be chaining 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Once you've chained 4, you will be slip stitching to the first chain that you made to create a loop. So to slip stitch, just pop your hook through directly the first chain, pull your yarn through 1 loop and then the next loop, and you have a circle into which you will be working. So now that you've done that, you are going to be chaining 3, 1, 2 and 3, and this counts as your first double crochet. And so now that you've placed your first double crochet, you will be placing 5 more double crochets within this center, so that we have 6 in total. So to create a double crochet, wrap your yarn around your hook like so and go into the center. Pull up a loop. You've got 3 loops on your hook. Take your yarn and pull through 2 loops and take your yarn and pull through 2 loops, and that's a double crochet. And now just create 4 more into the center. So as you can see, I am weaving in my loose end as we go. So just go ahead and weave in your end. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in total, and then our first chain 3 counts as a double crochet, so that's equivalent to 6 double crochets in this center. So now what you are going to be doing is chaining 2, 1 and 2, and go back into the center with 6 more double crochets. So just go ahead and create 6 more double crochets inside your center. So 3, 4, 5 and 6, and now this is what we have. So now that you've done row 1, we will be doing row 2. So for row 2, we are going to be chaining 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Turn your work, and this counts as your first double crochet and chain 1 space. So for this row, which is also the row of the spaces, so as you can see in the photographs and in the introduction, we had 1 row, we'll have 1 row of full double crochets and then 1 row of spaces. So this is the spaces row. So like I said, you have a chain 4 that we've just done, which is a double crochet and chain 1. And what we are going to be doing, so this double crochet goes with this first stitch here, and the chain 1 also goes with the first stitch. So this is equivalent to 2 stitches that will go with that first stitch here from the previous row. This will make sense as we go along further in this pattern. So basically this means that we have 2 stitches for this first chain, and this is what for this first stitch, and this is what is going to create the increase through each row. So don't worry, this will make sense as we go along. So what we are going to be doing is going directly into the second stitch with a double crochet. So just go directly into that second stitch with a double crochet. What we are going to be doing now is chaining 1. So chain 1, skip a stitch and go into the next stitch with a double crochet. And as you see, we've got the spaces working out. Now we are going to chain 1, skip a stitch and go into the next stitch with a double crochet, of course. Okay, so we've reached the center chain 2 space. And what we are going to be doing, once again, so this center chain 2 is where we will be increasing also. So the corners on each side and the center space will be the places where we will be increasing, so that our shawl just gets bigger and bigger from row to row. So for this spaces row, I call it the spaces row, but you know what I mean. So for this row, what we are going to be doing is creating increases whilst in creating spaces too. So what we are going to be doing is chaining 1, and obviously this is equivalent to 1 stitch. Go into the center chain 2 space and crochet a double crochet like so. So now the chain space here and the double crochet count as 2 stitches. Chain 2, 1 and 2. What you are going to be doing is placing another double crochet inside the center. so directly into the center, chain 1. Again, this counts as a stitch, and what you are going to be doing now is going directly into the next space here on that side to place a double crochet. And this creates an increase whilst still creating the spaces that we need. And like I said, I will be going over this at least once or twice more, so don't worry if you need more help with this row. Now chain 1, skip a stitch and go into the next stitch with a double crochet. Chain 1 and skip a stitch and go into the next stitch with a double crochet. And so just there we go. And as you can see, we only have one stitch left, which is also the chain 3 from the previous row, which of course does count as a stitch. What you will be doing is chaining 1 and going directly into the top of that chain 3 here with a double crochet. So there we go, a double crochet. And this is what we have for the second row. So as you can see, this will take shape and form as we go along, and it will make a lot more sense. But this is what we have for now. So we've created row 2, and I'm really pleased with how it looks. Okay, so I just want to jump back on camera briefly. I am going to be snipping off this piece of yarn. Now, usually I would wait till the end of the shawl and do that, but I find it distracting while I'm filming. So I'm just going to show you what I do. I'm just going to tighten this gently, and I will be sewing it in quite well. So like I said, I would usually do this at the end of the project. So just sew this in a lot more than what I've just done. Obviously, I'm just creating a sample, so it doesn't matter. But with your proper shawl, just make sure that you sew it in quite well after tightening it gently, just so that it doesn't unravel. And I'm just going to snip that off. Okay, so this is row 2, and now I'm going to show you row 3. And going forward, just know that all of our shawl will be a repeat of row 2 and 3. So for row 3, just chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Turn your work, and this counts as your first double crochet. And what we are going to be doing for this row to increase it, we are simply going to be adding a second double crochet inside that first stitch. So just go ahead and place a second double crochet in that corner, in that first stitch. So we have 2 stitches together in this first stitch. Now go into the next and every stitch across with just simply 1 double crochet. So the next double crochet we will be placing will be in the chain space from the previous row. So just go ahead and place your double crochet inside that chain space here. Now go into the next stitch, which is a double crochet, and place a double crochet into that. Now go into the next stitch, which is also a chain space, with a double crochet, and go into the next double crochet from the previous row, the next stitch, and place a double crochet into that. So as you can see, we are filling up this row with double crochets and placing a double crochet into each stitch from the previous row. So it's very straightforward and easy to understand this. So now just go ahead. So I like to go into the chain space directly like that and place a double crochet. And now I'm just going to place a double crochet into the last stitch from the previous row before the chain space. So this is what we have for now, and we've reached the chain 2 from the previous row, the center chain 2. And what we are going to be doing is placing 2 double crochets in that chain 2 directly. So 1 and 2 double crochets, chain 2, 1 and 2, and place 2 more double crochets inside this space, 1 and 2. Excuse me. Then go, so that's the center increase double crochets. So as you can see, I've placed 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets directly inside the center from the previous row. Now just go into the next stitch with a double crochet, and then into the next stitch, which is a chain, and the next stitch, and so on. And I'm just going to let you carry this on until you reach the end of this row, and then I'll show you how to finish off this row. Okay, so I've almost finished this row. I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do. So what I have left from the previous row is a chain space and a double crochet. So what we are going to be doing is placing 1 double crochet into the chain space. And now I'm going to be placing 2 double crochets inside the last double crochet from the previous row. And this is where it's a bit tricky, if that makes sense, and where you have to really pay attention, is that this last stitch here is the chain 4 from the previous row, and it also counts as a chain 1 and double crochet, and inside that chain 1 you will be placing a double crochet, and inside the at the top of the chain 3 here, which counts as a double crochet, you will be placing your increase of 2 double crochets. So I hope this makes sense. Okay, so now this is row 3 that we've just completed, and just so you know, we are now going to be repeating row 2 and row 3 over and over. So it's just very simple. Now we will be repeating row 2. So this is row 4. So to create row 4, just chain 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Turn your work, and as I said before, this is simply going to be a repeat of row 2. So this chain 4 counts as a double crochet and chain space, and so this is equivalent to 2 stitches that go with this first stitch here. Now we are going to go directly into the next stitch, so the second stitch, with a double crochet. Now chain 1, skip a stitch and go into the next with a double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch and go directly into the next with a double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch and go directly into the next with a double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch and go directly into the next with a double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch and go directly into the next stitch with a double crochet. And now we are at the center, chain 2 from the previous row. We are going to be chaining 1 and placing a double crochet inside this chain 2. Chain 2, 1 and 2, and go back into that center with a double crochet, chain 1 and go into the first stitch on the other side with a double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch and go into the next with a double crochet, chain 1, go into the next with a double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next with a double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next with a double crochet and chain 1, skip a stitch and go directly into the next stitch with a double crochet. And now we've reached the end of this row. Like I said, we only have the chain 3 from the previous row left to crochet into, and so that's 1 stitch. And obviously to increase this row we are going to be chaining 1, so chain 1 and go directly into the top of the chain 3 with a double crochet. And there you go. And this is row 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is row 4. And going forward, we will be repeating these rows over and over. So it's really, really simple. Okay, so now I'm just going to be showing you row 5, which is a repeat of row 3. And then I'll let you carry on with this pattern on your own. So I'm just going to show you one last row and then I'll let you carry on your own. So for row 5, which is a repeat of row 3, just chain 3, 1, 2 and 3. Turn your work, and this counts as our first double crochet. And what you will be doing is adding 1 more double crochet inside that first stitch here. Just go ahead and place a double crochet into that. Then go into the next stitch, which is the chain space from the previous row, with a double crochet. And then go into the next stitch with a double crochet. And then go into the next stitch, which is a chain space with a double crochet. Just go ahead and place a double crochet into that. Oh, I'm finding it a bit. There we go. And then go into the next stitch, which is a double crochet. And I'm just going to let you place double crochets all along this side, and then I'll show you what to do for the center. Okay, so I've reached the top chain 2 space here. And what I am going to be doing is placing 2 double crochets inside this chain 2 from the previous row, chain 2, 2 double crochets inside that space once again. And now I'm simply going to be placing once again a double crochet into each stitch across, including the chain spaces. So just go ahead and do this, and then I'll show you how to finish off this row. Okay, so I've reached the end of this row. And so as you can see, I've still got 2 stitches left from the previous row, which is the chain 4, but that counts as a double crochet and a chain space. So what we are going to be doing is placing a double crochet into the chain space. And we are going to be placing 2 double crochets together at the top of this chain 3, which counts as a double crochet. So just go ahead and place 2 double crochets just here. Okay, so this is what we have, and so you will be repeating row 2 and 3 over and over until you have 47 rows in total, or until you are satisfied with the size of your shawl. Obviously you can crochet your shawl as large as you prefer, so if you want it to be a bit bigger you can add rows, and if you want it to be a bit smaller, just don't place as many rows. But I know I placed 47 rows in total, so just go ahead and do this, and then I'll show you how to crochet your border. Okay, so now that I've shown you the rows you need to alternate, I'm just going to show you how to crochet your border. So I'm just going to fasten off. Obviously, as you know, this is a sample, but the principle is the exact same. So it will be the exact same principle with your larger shawl, so just bear that in mind. So now that I fastened off, I'm just going to go through that loop here and pull my yarn through just to secure it. Okay, so now I'm going to attach my burlap yarn here. So just go ahead and attach it. I'm just going to attach it at the same place that I've fastened off, and now I am going to pop my hook through like this and chain 1, and this does not count as a stitch. And I am going to go back into that first stitch here with a single crochet and turn your work. And what I will be doing myself is fastening in my loose ends as I go along. So just go through, go into the next stitch and place a single crochet, and we will be placing a single crochet all along this edge. So just place single crochets all along this project like so. So just go ahead and place a single crochet into each and every stitch across. So just go ahead and place a single crochet all along this edge, and then I'll show you what to do in the chain 2 space at the top. Okay, so I've placed a single crochet all along this edge, and at the top chain 2 here in the center we will be placing 2 single crochets, 1 and 2, chain 2, 1 and 2, and place 2 single crochets inside this space like this. So this is what it looks like. Now go into each and every stitch along with a single crochet like we just did on the other side, and then I'll show you how to do the end of this row and row 2. So I've almost finished placing all my single crochets. I just want to remind you to not forget the chain 3 here, and just go ahead and place a single crochet at the top of the chain 3. So this is row 1 of the border. So now for row 2 we are going to be chaining 3. So 1, 2 and 3. Turn your work, and this counts as your first double crochet. So what we are going to, and it goes with this first stitch here obviously, what we are going to be doing now is skipping the next stitch. So skip the second stitch and go into the third stitch with a V stitch. So to create a V stitch, just go into that stitch with 2 double crochets. So just go ahead and place 1 double crochet and then a second double crochet. Skip 1 and then go into the next double crochet with 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, skip a stitch and go into the next with 2 double crochets. So that's a V stitch. So every time we place 2 double crochets together, that's a V stitch. And I just want to add here as a side note that this is how I do a double crochet, because sometimes I get messages or I get comments that say, oh, a double crochet is a chain, is a double, sorry, not a double crochet. A V stitch is a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And for me, a V stitch is 2 double crochets together. So that's just a different technique. It's a different way of doing V stitches. I do use them both, but this is what I refer to as the old-fashioned V stitch, because I found this V stitch in an old crochet book from about 50 years ago or something. So anyways, this is just a little side note. So now just skip a stitch and go into the next with a V-stitch. And just do this until you reach the center space here at the top, and I'll show you what to do then. So I've reached the top of this side, and I still have one single crochet here before the chain 2 space here. So what we are going to be doing is skipping. So I've placed the V-stitch here. In this stitch, we are going to be skipping this single crochet at the end of this side, and then we are going to be going directly into the chain 2 space from the previous row with a V-stitch. So go directly into that chain 2 with a V-stitch, so 2 double crochets. Now chain 2, 1 and 2, and go back into that center top chain 2 with 2 V-stitches, 2 double crochets, which are a V-stitch. So that means at the center, chain 2 from the previous row, we've placed inside that center 1 V-stitch, chain 2, 1 V-stitch. So what we are going to be doing in the next row to make it symmetrical, on the next side, please, I apologize for my vocabulary, but I don't really know how to call this except for a side. So skip the next single crochet on this side and go into the next with a V-stitch. Skip the next stitch and go into the next with a V-stitch. Skip a stitch and go into the next with a V-stitch. And just carry this on until you reach the last 2 or 3 stitches on this row, and I'll show you what to do to finish off this row. Okay, so I've reached the end of this row, and obviously I have 2 stitches left from the previous row, which is 2 single crochets left. So what we will be doing to finish off this row is skipping a single crochet and going into the last single crochet with a double crochet. So just go ahead and do that. Okay, so that's the second row of this V-stitch border. So now for the next row, you are going to be chaining 3 and turning your work, and this counts as your first double crochet. And what we are going to be doing now is very simple. It's just place a double crochet into each double crochet from the previous row. So you've located your double crochet here, and just go inside that stitch with another double crochet, and then go inside the next double crochet from the previous row with a double crochet, and then go into the next V-stitch from the previous row, and just do this into each and every V-stitch, and then I'll show you what to do at the center space here at the top, chain 2. Okay, so I've reached the center chain 2 from the previous row, and what we are going to be doing in this is placing a V-stitch. So just go ahead and place a V-stitch, chain 2, and go back in with another V-stitch. So that's in the center chain 2 from the previous row. And this is what it looks like. And now what we are going to be doing is placing a V-stitch into each V-stitch from the previous row until the end of this row, and you are going to be repeating this process, so this row, one more time. So I'm not going to go through the third V-stitch row with you. You just need to repeat the row that that I am showing you now. So you should have 3 V-stitch rows in total for the border. I mean, you can add more if you want a thicker border. That's entirely up to you, but for myself I thought that 3 rows of V-stitches was enough, because after this, the third row of V-stitches, I will be showing you how to place your last row, which is the shell stitch row. So as you can see, I've placed all my V-stitches. And what I am going to be doing is just placing a chain 3, not a chain 3, a double crochet into the top of the chain 3 from the previous row, like so. So this is what we have. So this obviously is row 2 that I've just showed you. Just repeat that row once more, just so that you have 3 rows of V-stitches in total. And now I am just going to show you the shell stitch border directly. So just imagine you have 3 rows, so just add 1 more row and then do what I'm going to show you. But it's just because this is a sample, it just seems a bit tedious just to add 1 row for the sake of it. So I'm just going to directly show you the last row of shell stitches. So for the shell stitches, just chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, turn your work, and this counts as your first double crochet. And what you are going to be doing into that same stitch, you will be placing 2 more double crochets. So 1 and 2, so that means that you have 3 double crochets inside this first stitch, because the chain 3 counts as a double crochet, and you've just added 2 double crochets to this stitch. So now what we are going to be doing is skipping 1 and 2 stitches and going into the next. So skip 1 and 2 and go into the next with a single crochet. Now skip 1 and 2 and go into the next with 5 double crochets, and these 5 double crochets actually count as a shell, because we only placed 3 on the side of the shawl, because that's a half shell, because it's the end of the shawl. So that's actually a full shell. So now that you've placed your 5 double crochets inside that stitch, you will be skipping 1 and 2 and going into the next with a single crochet. Skip 1 and 2 and go into the next with 5 double crochets. So you see, it's a really simple process. It's very easy to do your shell stitches. 4, 5, skip 2 stitches and go into the next with a single crochet, skip 1 and 2 and go into the next with 5 double crochets. 2, 3, 4 and 5 double crochets. Now skip 1 and 2 stitches and go into the next with a single crochet to anchor down your project. And now, as you can see, we only have 1 stitch left, so we are going to be skipping that stitch and going into the very top here with 5 double crochets, which are a shell stitch. So you are placing a shell stitch at the very top of your project. So 4, 5. Now going down the other side, you are going to skip 1 stitch and go into the next with a single crochet. just to make this project symmetrical. And now skip 2 stitches and go into the next with 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 double crochets. Skip 1 and 2 and go into the next with a single crochet. Skip 1 and 2 and go into the next with 5 double crochets. So I'm just going to let you carry this row on, and I'll show you how to finish off this project. So just carry this pattern on until you reach the end of this row, and I'll show you how to finish off this row. Okay, so to finish off this row, you are simply going to be skipping those 2 stitches here. So I've placed a single crochet here into this stitch, skip 2 stitches and go into the last stitch, which is the chain 3 from the previous row, with 3 double crochets, just to place a half shell on the other side of this border, just to make it symmetrical. And this is what we have. So obviously yours is a lot larger, like my original project. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up because it really helps grow my channel. Don't forget to comment if you enjoyed this project, and let me know what kind of tutorial you would like to see in the future. I always love to have your ideas. And don't forget to subscribe, and if you want, you can join my Patreon too. So thank you so much for being part of my crochet family, and yes, see you in the next video. Bye bye.